Welcome to the Sewing Report. I'm Jen. This channel is all about sewing crafts and DIY projects. And I can't believe we are doing a video about scrunchies, but yes, we're doing a video about scrunchies. I'm old enough to remember when they were trendy back in the 90s, and I'm still in shock that scrunchies are something that young people want to wear today. So I thought I would do a video to DIY your own scrunchies. We're doing a couple different methods. One involves no hand sewing. Yes, you heard that right, no hand sewing. The other method I think personally looks better but takes a little bit more time and does involve hand sewing. This is a fairly easy sewing project and it's part of our Learn to Sew in 2020 series, so of course we are using the Brother CS7000i sewing machine. So let's get started. This is a great scrap buster and fat quarter friendly. Perfect for cotton and steel prints left over from the super simple potholders video. Here's what you need to make scrunchies. The Dritz quick turn tool is optional but really helpful. On each short end of the fabric, fold in about a ½ inch and press. Doing this will make finishing each scrunchie a bit easier. Method number 1, no hand sewing and using the quick turn tool. Place the long edges of the fabric right sides together with one short end folded inward, the other end unfolded. Pin, then sew the long edges together with the ¼ inch seam allowance. Backstitch at both the start and end of your stitch line. Press the seam open with an iron. Now it's time for the quick turn tool. Slide the cylinder into the fabric tube but stop about an inch or two from the end and fold the fabric over the cylinder end. Push the rounded end of the wooden rod into the cylinder while sliding the fabric into it. You'll see the turned fabric emerge from the opposite side. Pull until the fabric tube is right side out. Mark both ends of the same side of each elastic so you can match them up and they're not twisted. Attach the safety pin to one end of the elastic. Start running it through the fabric tube, but hold on to the other end of the elastic so it doesn't slip inside. Overlap the elastic ends like this, with marked sides facing up. Sew the overlapped elastic with a zigzag stitch, with back stitching at the beginning and end. Matching up the side seam, slide the raw edge of the fabric into the pressed edge at least a ½ inch. Pin into place. Now you're going to top stitch close to the pressed edge with a few back stitches at each end. Here's what the machine stitch scrunchie looks like. Method number 2, hand sewing and using a safety pin to turn right side out. Place the long edges of the fabric right sides together with both ends unfolded and raw. Pin, then sew the long edges together with the ¼ inch seam allowance. Backstitch at both the start and end of your stitch line. Press the seam open with an iron. Mark both ends of the same side of each elastic so you can match them up and they're not twisted. Now we'll turn the fabric tube right side out with the safety pin. Wait a sec, I ended up reshooting this because I figured out a quicker way. Attach the safety pin to both the elastic and one end of the fabric tube. Start running it through the tube using your fingers to guide it to the other end. Hold on to the other end of the elastic so it doesn't slip inside. The safety pin and elastic will emerge from the opposite side. Pull until the fabric tube is right side out. Continue to hold on to both ends of the elastic. Remove the safety pin. Overlap the elastic ends like this with marked sides facing up. Sew the overlapped elastic with a zigzag stitch with back stitching at the beginning and end. Remember how I pressed folds into the ends? This will come in handy for the hand sewing method. Refold the ends and this will be your stitching line. Get out a needle and coordinating thread. I doubled up on the thread for a more secure seam and knotted the end. Here I'm doing a ladder or invisible stitch by taking a small bite out of the fabric. alternating sides going all around the opening. To end the stitching and hide it, make a knot by wrapping thread around the needle a couple times and pulling through a spot in the fabric. Pull it out anywhere else on the fabric and clip the thread. See how neat this method is? Here's what the scrunchie finished with hand sewing looks like. As a reminder, all the supplies and fabric measurements are down below in the description box. And keep in mind, I did use woven, reed, non-stretchy fabric. If you're trying to use knit fabric, which is the type that stretches, you're going to need to make a few adjustments. You might want to experiment with a slightly longer piece of fabric, like 24 inches. Also, I'd recommend using a ballpoint needle and doing a stretch stitch, because if you use a regular stitch, your stitches will definitely pop out. But I thought this was a fun project to do, and I'm going to insert some video of me wearing the scrunchies here. From start to finish, it probably took me about 2 hours to make 4 scrunchies. And keep in mind, 1, I'm very slow, and 2, I also had to film the whole process. So if you're pretty quick, it shouldn't take you that long. So this is something you can whip out in an afternoon or an evening. You could make like a ton of these. You can also experiment. If you want your fabric to be more gathered, you can also extend the length of the fabric. So instead of doing like 21 inches, you can do 24 inches, 28 inches. However long you want to make these, you can also use different types of elastic and different elastic lengths. Like I have long, really thick hair, so I actually might experiment with making bigger versions of these. Maybe I can try to make like the biggest scrunchie ever, I don't know. Because these videos are aimed at beginners, let me know below in the comments, what other type of simple sewing projects would you like to see featured here on the Sewing Report? Let me know. And if you'd like to know more about the Brother CS7000i sewing machine, I've got a few other videos aimed at the true beginner, from how to use the machine to what all the feet do and how you use them all. Anyways, I really hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Jen with the Sewing Report, and I'll see you guys again in the next video.